I've met a lot of people and I have a lot of friends that struggle to some degree. I think everyone, to some degree, has some issues with mental illness. At some point in your life, you're probably going to feel down for a couple days, a couple weeks, and you're probably going to be really anxious about something at some point.
My experience with mental illness, personally, I have a lot of really close friends who are afflicted, but also I did a research study on the stigma of mental illness. I was a primary investigator for this study, so I guess you could say I'm kind of knee-deep in it, so I have both a first-hand experience as well as an outsider's perspective.
My experience with mental illness is both of my parents were diagnosed with depression at a pretty young age, and so then I was diagnosed with it at a pretty young age too, about like 11 or 12. Doctor told me it was hereditary. There's really nothing I can do about it.
I work at Right Path Behavioral Health Services, and I'm a targeted case manager. So people who are on Medicaid and are struggling with mental illness get referred to us for case management so that we can help them be better in the community and kind of meet them halfway so that they can rise up despite their mental illness and function in society a lot better.
In my experience, my family has had a hard time understanding at times how I'm feeling and the way I'm acting because of how I'm feeling. And I think it's really important for someone who doesn't really understand what someone else is going through who has a mental illness is to realize that you don't actually have to understand what's happening. You just need to be there for them.
I think there definitely used to be a stigma against mental illness. I think when people heard about it, they would automatically assume like schizophrenia or something crazy and say that people were crazy if they were mentally ill. But I think with doctors being a lot more open about it, with a lot more studies coming out about just how many people are affected with mental illness on a day-to-day basis, I think people are realizing that it's more common than you would think, and it's not that big of a deal, especially when there is treatment and medicines readily available for a bunch of people who want it. So I think we're moving in the right direction with the stigma.
There are certain mental illnesses that are deemed more appropriable, like we can say depression or some anxiety, stuff like that are a little bit more like society, they're more acceptable in society, whereas some of the more severe cases like schizophrenia, DID, stuff like that are seen as anomalies. So they're not exactly approved upon or treated the same. People who have those aren't exactly seen the same or in the same light in public.
The best part about my job is when they act like normal kids, because you see this whole different side come out of them when they're not held back, when you really get a rapport with them going. And it's like, I mean, it's like anybody with mental health issues. They're like any other person. They've just got a little something pulling at them. So when you bring in these other factors, like give them tutoring and give them like a group after school activity and meet with their parents regularly to make sure they have food in the house and everything, they flower, and it's really awesome to watch.
I love my pets. If I'm feeling upset, I can hold, I have a leopard gecko named Lily, and then I have 2 frogs, and they always help me feel better. So pets and animals are definitely a big one. And then I love to read. That tends to help me calm down. If I read before bed, that helps me calm down and I'll sleep better. And I also like stationery. I like those adult coloring books, and I have a lot of pens to color those in with.
If you're trying to help somebody who is struggling with mental illness, the biggest thing you can do is just to listen, because they have probably thought of every way possible to try to help themselves already, and they're coming to you for probably not for advice. They're probably just coming to talk about their feelings because they probably feel overwhelmed and scared, and they just want your support. They don't want you to fix their problem. They don't want you to tell them what to do. They just want to be heard and to be understood, and just tell them you love them and you care about them, and anything you can do to help, just ask them how you can help, basically.